Hello and welcome back to another episode of Flow with the Grow podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Dawn, and or Sophie or Soph. And I'm going to try and keep this episode short. I'm going to give you an actionable tip. If you are feeling overwhelmed with your health and fitness journey, with wanting to start your health and fitness journey, with wanting to be healthier, with wanting to eat healthier, maybe work out more, like whatever your goal is, I'm going to give you one thing that you need to start doing to help you with going from overwhelmed to empowered and confident. By the way, I just want to first say thank you to anyone who has ever shared this podcast with a friend, a family member, put it up in your stories, like whatever, because I do some social media posting and promoting the podcast just when a new episode comes out, but it's not been a priority. And so I feel like the show has really grown in the past 2 years as much as it has because of the people who share it with other people. So I just want to give a shout out to anyone who has ever done that and say a big thank you. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. For real. I also was kind of just reflecting the past couple days because about 2 years ago, as of like today and yesterday, I was moving into an apartment, kind of starting something new, something fresh. I was moving out of I was kind of getting out of a relationship, and I was really focusing on myself and on my growth and on my relationship with food and my relationship with my body and my mindset and working out and all of the things. And so that was about 2 years ago. And actually about a year ago, I was moving out of that apartment, out of that studio and into the next phase of my life, which was leaving my full-time job at Anytime Fitness and something that I was comfortable in, and really leaving into kind of the unknown, but also pursuing my goal and vision and dream of having my own health and fitness coaching business, which I'm still doing to this day. And has been kind of cool to kind of reflect on the growth that I've had overall in those past 2 years, and each one being a transformation point, a stepping stone to what I'm doing now. And since leaving that full-time comfortable job, I've actually learned something about myself. I have learned that I have a whole lot more self-doubt and this thing called imposter syndrome that more than I experienced in the past. I never really had too much of that, but since kind of going off on my own, I definitely have more of that. And so it's just important, like I think, to recognize that even though I have this like optimistic view on life, I still struggle with these things. And even though it's kind of taking me longer than I thought to pursue this business and to like have it be super successful, it's taking me a little bit longer. And I just kind of have this intuitive knowing and feeling that like that alone is going to help someone in the future. Like just knowing that, yes, you can maybe grow slower, but be successful. You don't have to stress. You don't have to hustle. And I mean, a big part of that too is having a support system. So like my fiance has always believed in me and has kind of really pushed me to do this, even from when I was at Anytime, and to pursue this thing that I'm doing. And if you don't already know, I am also a health and fitness wellness coach. I like to call myself a lifestyle coach because I focus on not just here's nutrition help, here's workout help, but also like other habits and with your mindset and mental health and kind of everything, because I really believe everything is intertwined and affects one another. So I ultimately help people overcome the yo-yo diet and food restriction with a personalized approach to achieve fat loss and food freedom while building muscle, body confidence, and a resilient mindset for life. So that's going to kind of lead me into I have a couple things I'm going to share before I get into that tip for if you are overwhelmed, but I just wanted to also share something that I'm starting as of like today. So Tuesday, October 24th, 2022 is when this is coming out. And that is a Facebook group. So I'm kind of trying to grow this community, this online Facebook group where I can also share more with the people who want to hear and to get guidance the most. So like I always share on my podcast, on Facebook and Instagram, but I really want to start focusing on those who care the most about this information and about getting value and getting help and all of these things. And this Facebook group is going to be starting kind of like a revamp because I started it in the beginning of 2022, but I'm going to share a little bit about what you can expect. And so this group is called fat loss, food freedom, and muscle building solutions. So number one, I want to focus on the fat loss aspect. If you have ever been a yo-yo dieter, meaning you've jumped from one diet to the next, you've really tried to always be in a calorie deficit, you think that you need to eat less and move more in order to lose weight or in order to lose body fat, then this group is for you. I really want to share value and information where maybe you didn't really know before, but also just kind of give you guidance and say, hey, actually, you maybe need to eat more in order to lose the weight that you're wanting and to help you break free from the dieting mentality, like the constant dieting mentality. And number two, food freedom. I think it's really important to have a healthy relationship with food and to have flexibility within our diets. Like, yes, you can still lose body fat while eating the foods that you love, and to have this flexible approach so that you have balance. When we don't really have a good relationship with food, it really affects our mindset and mental health. And then that can play into holding stress onto our bodies, and that can play into weight loss resistance and not being able to lose weight. And that can play into stress. And like I said before, like everything is just intertwined. So in the group, I'm going to be focusing on how you can lose fat, body fat, and then also food freedom, how you can achieve that. And number three, how to also gain muscle, because this is important for the pursuit of fat loss. And it's going to help it. It's going to kind of be a facilitator of that. And not only that, but also it helps you to do more in life, to live life more. I always hear people say they want to lose weight, they want to lose body fat, but really what I think most people want to do is they want to just live life more. They want to be able to do the things that they love, and building muscle is going to give you the ability to do all of that and more. You can expect some mini challenges in the group, some live trainings. Like, I'm really going to try and pour into this group as much as possible to teach you, to help you, to give you what you need to help you move closer to the goals that you have, and to have it be sustainable. Like, most importantly, to have it be sustainable and just a way of life. Before I get into my next point, my next thing I was going to talk about, let's jump into that tip that I have, right? Because I feel like this episode is for that tip. You came here for that. I'm going to share that with you, and then I'm going to go into my last thing that I'm going to talk about. So if you are feeling overwhelmed and stressed about like what to do, like maybe you're just starting your fitness journey, maybe you've been in your health and fitness journey and you're kind of lost, not knowing what to do, kind of at a plateau, I want to encourage you to just go back to the basics and keep it simple. Like, the one thing that most people I think need to do is one goal. Like, have one goal that you are reaching for. It can be week to week or maybe month to month. So going slow and then stacking the habits and the goals from there. So what do I mean by that? Well, number one, choose one thing you're going to work on. If you're overwhelmed, we don't want to focus on eating more protein and drinking more water and working out 5 days a week and doing this and doing that. Like, you choose one thing. I think there's a lot of power in just choosing one thing to help you feel empowered and confident to set yourself up for success moving forward. So maybe that first goal is drinking more water. Maybe you're not drinking any water at all, and you're just going to focus on that, because you know what? More than likely, if you focus on drinking more water, that's going to help you with sleep. It's going to help you with food choices. It's going to help you with digestion. Like, you could knock down a couple of goals from just that one goal, but you're focusing on just that one thing until you're getting really good at it. And then you can add a second goal on top of that. So maybe that second goal is going to be having a protein source with every meal that you have. So ultimately, really just taking one step at a time. I know I've said this before, but I think that it really can't be said enough. And maybe we just need that reminder that it's okay to slow down, and it's okay to just work on one thing at a time if that's what you need in order to not feel overwhelmed with all of the things, all of the goals that you have, and all of the changes that you're wanting to make, right? Let's tackle one small thing at a time. And what that's going to do is help you to make this be sustainable and help you to, like, let's say you quote fall off track. Well, it's going to help you just get back on track again, because you have just this one goal you're working on, drinking more water, let's say. Just get back on track with doing that. And when you're feeling confident and empowered and not overwhelmed, then you can add a second one. And some of the basics, like going back to the basics, can be, like I said, water and more protein. But it can also be, how about we focus on your stress? Like, what is one thing every day that you can do to decrease that stress? Maybe it's taking 2 minutes for deep breathing, or 5 minutes. Maybe it's going outside for a walk. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it's doing a brain dump so that way you're not anxious at nighttime, staying up before bed, and trying to not have your mind have racing thoughts. Maybe that small goal is going to be 7 hours of sleep. Maybe it's going to be having a serving of vegetables with every meal. Or maybe it could be swapping out your snacks. Like maybe you're having, you want to switch out the snacks that you're eating throughout the day and you incorporate vegetables instead. Or you just add vegetables to that snack versus replacing. I think sometimes, especially in fitness nutrition, it can be easy to overthink these things. But going back to the basics and simplicity will go a long way. So I hope that whoever's listening needed to hear that. The last thing I wanted to talk about is a little bit about my story. So I've talked about my story before on this episode a long time ago, and I don't even think I've really finished it, but it's like always evolving, right? Like it's constantly evolving as I'm evolving, and with every single day, week, month, year. And so in the Facebook group, which will be linked in the show notes if you want to check it out, but I'm also going to share my story on Tuesday, so the day that this is being released. And I'm going to try and condense it just so that you can kind of have some background about what I've been through and maybe more on like why I think that I can help you or why I feel like I can help the people who have been, who are maybe at where I was. So I'm going to start in middle school. So I remember first being in 8th grade, not first being in 8th grade, but I was in 8th grade. I was in history class. I look down and I see my stomach over my shorts. And I remember how shocked I was. Like this is when I really became aware of my body. This is the first point that I can remember. So fast forward a little bit, I remember like in freshman year of high school and kind of throughout, there was pictures I saw of myself. I became more and more aware of my body. I became more and more self-conscious of my body, negative, like picking apart my body degrading. It kind of formed some body dysmorphia. And then I remember at a cross-country not a race, but like a get-together, gathering, end of the year season thing, there was a slideshow. And I've told this story before, but there was a picture of me and my teammate running next to me, and it made our legs or thighs look like one. And someone said something, and I took it the completely wrong way. And because I took it the wrong way, I caused myself a lot of emotional chaos for like many years to come. But I took it the wrong way. And in my head, I got so emotional. I thought I needed to lose weight. I thought that what he was saying was that I was, big, that I was fat, that I needed to lose weight. And so in my head, I remember distinctly in my head, that was it. I was going to restrict food. I was going to go ham on workouts. I just remember kind of making that promise to myself internally. So from that point forward, that was kind of my first starting point of overworking out, of maybe orthorexia, and really not eating, but also creating these food rules for myself and tactics and things to avoid food, to restrict food, and kind of just a whole lot of mental turmoil and always thinking that someone was thinking that I needed to lose weight. And it was a constant battle. Looking back, I just can't believe all the thoughts that ran through my head. So fast forward a little bit, kind of up and down in weight. Going to college, I was fearful of the freshman 15. And so even though I was super conscious of the foods I was eating and eating really healthy in my mind, it was not a healthy mindset. It was not a healthy relationship with food. And of course, not with my body. Again, I began overworking out and having different food rules, and also alcohol played a role. I just binged a lot on alcohol and wouldn't eat, and all of these things. So now from high school to college and throughout college, I experienced a lot of yo-yo dieting. So yo-yoing back and forth, the all or nothing mindset, going from one extreme to the next, going from binging to restricting, just going through that roller coaster cycle for years. And through all of that, really dealing with a lot of negative self-talk about my body and a lot of emotions, but very emotional because I would really get down on myself a lot of the time. So thinking and feeling like I only could control working out and not food. So I would control my working out by working out a lot. Fast forward even more, I'm probably missing some important points here that I'm going to wish I said later on, but Fast forward to after college, this was like way later, I decided to go to therapy and to try and get a better relationship with myself and with food, and just try and break this cycle because I was just sick and tired of it. I needed to do something, and I needed to do something different. So ultimately, like I went through a couple different, so I went through one, and I mean, I learned a lot, and I still have a couple things that she taught me that I still use to this day if I have a negative thought. But I went to a second one because me and her, we just weren't vibing, I thought, the first one. So went to a second therapist, absolutely loved like her and the vibe and everything. We did what's called ART. And so she really helped me through that. And it's kind of like a hypnosis eye movement type thing. ART is the acronym. And then after that, so at that point, I also was navigating a breakup and going through that. So I think there's a lot of emotional eating like prior to me going to therapy that kind of played into all of this. But after that, it's like night and day. Like that truly helped me to get to where I am today. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go to therapy. I'm saying that we need to work on ourselves and we need to work on our internal thoughts. Just like we have to make a conscious effort to go to the gym, to change different habits, like we have to internally also work on our thoughts. And after going to therapy and all of that, the next turning point, I feel like, was when I met my now fiance, Kiana. And she had mentioned like tracking macros, that she wondered if maybe that would help me. And ultimately it did. It really did, because then I was able to be more flexible with the way that I was eating and to realize that I can have the foods that I love and that I want without like restricting and without gaining weight and without feeling guilty or regretful. Like I always was in a cycle of restricting foods massively to the point where I would go on a binge and then I would feel guilty, regretful, emotional. I would maybe emotionally buy some sort of cleanse, 10-day cleanse, 21-day cleanse, whatever it was. And then I would go into the all or nothing mindset again. And like that was my constant cycle for years. And so it's going to take years to get to a point where you allow yourself any and all foods and drinks and not feel guilty or regretful, but also have balance where you're not going overboard or overeating those things and you're focusing on the more quality, nutrient-dense foods. So it is possible. I felt like even though I was working on these things for years, I never really truly thought or knew that I could come to this place. I stopped stepping on the scale for like at least a year. Like I did a whole lot of things to like get my mind right and to cultivate a better relationship with food and with my body. And it took a lot of work, but like I said, it's possible. Like this freedom is also available to you as well. And it's really awesome for me to be able to like have Oreos in the house and only have one and be good. Like before I would go ham and eat, like it was like FOMO. I had a fear of missing out. And so because I would restrict, so I'd have like 5, 10, 15, like whatever it was, and then feel regretful and like be like, okay, I can't have that in the house, whatever. So it's really cool for me to like have these things, have ice cream, like have these things and not feel guilty and to not overeat, like to have the balance. So that's a little bit more about my story and kind of where I'm at now, how I got to where I'm at without making this like super, super long. So whether you can relate in some way or another, I hope that you found something from this. And if anything, check out the Facebook group. I mean, you can always join and then be like, you know what, this isn't for me. We're not vibing. Don't like the energy, whatever. You can always leave. But the link will be in the show notes below. You can also search fat loss, food freedom, and muscle building solutions on Facebook. If you do have more questions on it or anything, you can definitely shoot me a message on Facebook, or I'm on Instagram at Sophia_Dawn41. And again, just want to say thank you for being here, for sharing this podcast with anyone that you share it with. It means the world to me. And with that, I will let you go. And if you see PS Kiana or you see a post about her birthday, wish her a happy birthday. It is her golden birthday, 26 on Wednesday. Cool. All right. That's all that I got for you. Thank you for being here. I love you. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, week, weekend. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Flow with the Grow. I'll see you next week for your daily dose of positivity and growth.